You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma stories through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof. Let's get into today's episode. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode down at the Oklahoma Hall of Fame today to tell you, a story about a brand that you definitely would have seen around the state. You've probably drank from the bottles of Ozarka, and, you just see it everywhere. There's a great Made in Oklahoma partnership that we're going to talk about that you guys do a lot of stuff with. But Tanner Hanstein's with me today to tell that story, a wonderful Oklahoma story. Even if you've driven into downtown, we had the marathon recently. If you've driven into downtown, and you've definitely driven by the Ozarka plant, I guess would be the way a plant would be the right way to say it. With the giant water tower, and it's right next to Lively Beer Works, which is a big purple building. You can't miss that one. So Tanner, thanks so much for coming in, and I'm excited to share the story today, to dive in to the family history and how this becomes and how this happens, because we know each other, and I know your story, and we're going to dive into that as well, and how you get to kind of your position now, and all of the other little positions that you've gone through. But I had a little tour of the facility. It's it never stops. It's moving and shaking. It's great to see. It's fascinating. Things move at a fast pace, and it's not just little bottles of water that you guys do.
No, it's not. Big old jugs, 5 gallons.
Exactly. So before we dive into kind of the history of the business, tell me a little bit about you. Kind of how did you were born and raised in Oklahoma City, and then
born and raised here. Did my undergrad here, did a little bit of post-grad. I've got a beautiful wife, and I think I outkicked my coverage on her. She reminds me every day.
Yeah, mine too.
I've got 2 dogs, and happily married for about 2 years. That's kind of and I love playing golf and traveling and listening to music and playing a little bit here and there. That's kind of a little quick and dirty of kind of who I am. But, legacy has always been a huge part of my family, and being able to be a part of a family business is really special, especially one that's been around for over 50 years. In 1971 it was our year of inception, and last year was our 50th anniversary. Hopefully we'll do something special for it soon, but we didn't do anything too crazy. Still trying to kind of recover from crazy 2020 year. But we're moved past it. I think the world's kind of calming down a little bit, which is nice and really refreshing. Yeah,
that quote, getting back to normal, keeps coming around and actually starting to feel like the last two, everyone's like, 2019 literally felt like a month ago, but it hasn't. It was
feels like an eternity ago now.
It's crazy. But back to kind of, touch on you a little bit. I got 2 dogs too. What are your dogs' names?
Bo.
Yeah.
Well, they're both chocolate labs, and they're both like half siblings. So same mom, different dad. Bo and Charlie.
That's an interesting mix, having both like sort of siblings, and like
it's kind of cool.
I kind of wish we'd had 2, like from the litter, or like from the same lineage or whatever, because I have friends who have like 2 brothers or 2 sisters, and they're either great or they're either like a terror, but they get used to each other.
They're definitely a bit of both. They like to roughhouse pretty good, and you cannot keep them out of the water. I think Charlie, she'll just hop in the pool and just swim around, and she did that in December, and I was like, that water's like 40 degrees, and she just doesn't care.
Right, and then when she comes out of the water, you don't want to be anywhere near it.
Oh, no.
Shake and cover you. And
it's like one of those sprinkler machines that sprays you.
Definitely. Those 2 hunting dogs, right? They're great for hunting.
Great for hunting. I didn't want to go that route.
No.
I don't do a lot of hunting myself, or at least with dogs. Every once in a while, I'll go bird hunting, but we'll use other dogs that the facility provides. I got Bo about 5 years ago, and I just kind of wanted a companion. I got him right after I graduated, and always wanted my own dog. And then my wife's a couple years ago, she's like, "How would you feel if we got another one?" I'm like, I need another dog. Like, I need a hole in the head. And well, we got a second dog despite my best efforts, and now I also love that dog too.
That's exactly the same story as my 2 dogs.
Yeah.
You get one, but we bought a house. First thing we got a dog, and then a couple of years later, my wife's like, she needs a friend.
Yeah, that's
It's like,
she's like, yeah, she said,
and that's the end of it, right? You can't fight that. It's
exactly. She's like, oh, I didn't get myself another dog. I just got our dog a dog.
Yeah.
What are your dogs' names?
Savvy. Savvy and Greg's, and they're 2 girl dogs, but my wife got to pick the first one and I got to pick the name. So we're golfers. I picked Savvy as Severiano Ballesteros because Savvy was like the closest name that kind of was like, the only name that wasn't like, people don't really know that it's a golfer, right? If you're not a golfer, you'd be like, oh, it's a cool name. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're like Arnie, Tiger, Jack or whatever, you could name your dog after legends and someone's like, oh, you're a golfer because you definitely named your dog after Tiger Woods or whatever. But so I got away with that one, and I didn't tell my wife it was a golfer until like a week later, and she's like, I really like that name. I was like, yes. And then the second one, I got to pick the dog and she got to pick the name. And I've always had boy dogs growing up, and I wanted a boy dog, and we had the first one as a girl, so I picked this dog. Great, gonna have a boy in the litter, and there wasn't any dogs left. So my wife named Greg's and you'll find this funny too. Greg's is a bakery in the UK.
Really?
It's a bakery franchise in the UK, and my wife loves this place called Greg's, and they do like sausage rolls and pastries, and I mean it's just super cheap and it's great food, especially when you're hungover. And they do this like chicken bake, and it's just like a square kind of chicken pot pie, right? But in like a bake pasty style form, and they're like $1.50 each. So game changer. So for $10 you are filled. And so my wife was like, we were walking through like a grocery store one day, and she's like, we're gonna name our dog Greg's, and I like lost it. I was like, you're kidding me, right? Like I was laughing my head off, and she's like, no, I think it's great. I was like, yeah, I guess it is. So we have 2 girls. Greg's was supposed to be a boy with a boy name, so we have 2 girl dogs, 2 golden doodles, and they are my world, right? Like we don't have kids, and the dogs are everything.
You could get away with it. Greg Norman, Greg's, so a little loose association. It could work.
But I'm fighting her because she wants another one, right?
Oh, wow.
It doesn't stop. Right?
Good luck.
Exactly. and like for you, like, I mean, my doodles, they're not as big. I mean, the first one's kind of like 60-ish pounds, but the chocolate labs, they're big, right?
They're about 100 pounds each.
Sizes on your, on your side, because like, if you get another one of those, like, it's time to get a big house, right?
You can't fit 2 dogs and 2 humans in the same bed. No. We've tried and failed.
And then the car and all the other stuff. It's just it's not worth it. But we could talk about dogs and golf forever. We should probably start talking about the business that you work in. For the people listening, we're a few minutes in, and how does what I guess would be starting out like your earliest memory of the family business of a business that you've grown up around and in?
My earliest, so we have an early 1930s Ford pickup, and it's like a flatbed with 2 long wood panels on either side. It's like a barrier. Yeah. And they would haul water in that pickup, and it's got Eureka Springs on it. Yeah. And I can't remember who drove it, but I was in 2nd grade. And they drove that car down to my school when I was attending for like a special celebration that day. I can't remember what the theme was, but the car was there, and I guess I think it may have been something along the lines of celebrate the 30s, or past Americans that were in their 30s that helped shape the United States. And building with the theme, my family thought it'd be a cool idea to bring the truck down there and have all the kids pose on it. And it was really cool, but I think the teachers were more appreciative of it than the kids were. Awesome. That's probably the earliest memory I have that's associated with the company. But actually being there, probably a lot of sweeping floors and a lot of cleaning trash cans. I definitely, I started at the very bottom of the barrel, and they said, well, you're gonna learn every aspect of this business, starting from the ground up, and get a broom because you're gonna be doing a lot of sweeping. And they just said it builds character, and I got a lot of it. I got a lot of character.
Oh, I love that. Do you guys still have that truck?
Oh yeah, we still have it. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen it. It's in a protective garage.
Yeah, it's in a museum now. Pretty much. It's in the family museum. Yeah.
But no, we still have it, and we'll we'll make sure it gets like a little test drive every once in a while, keep
yeah.
everything running smoothly. But we still have it. It's cool.
Yeah, well, it's great for branding, isn't it? And just to get it out and maybe drive around or out for a photo shoot or the family, the family photo or a team photo in front of it.
Well, that's exactly
it signifies a lot of cool things.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did. A couple of years ago, we did a fleet photo. So we got all of our trucks out into the parking lot and kind of staged them looking cool, and then someone had a drone and they flew up there and took a big wide picture of the plant and all the fleet, and then the truck was right in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's badass.
Yep.
I love that. So started then sweeping floors, and I mean, in that warehouse there was a lot of floor space to be sweeping around.
About 10,000 square feet of floor.
So how old were you when you started sweeping floors, and then what was the first kind of, I guess, promotion you got from sweeping floors? Where did you go after that?
I started about 12. My parents say, hey, that's a good time for you to start getting a job and learning how to take care of yourself, learning what the value of a dollar bill is and responsibility and all that. And after I started sweeping floors and getting the hang of it, it's kind of a mixed bag, if you will, because I would also help on the production line sometime. But I think the real track was I moved into the cooler department. So the water dispensers that those 5-gallon jugs sit on, that's where I moved into, and I learned how to clean them, take them apart, service them, and just overall just how they worked and the inventory of them. And then after that, it was probably a bit more production, and then I got my forklift license when I was 16, 17-ish, and I don't know if you've ever driven a forklift, but
I haven't, but it does look, when people do it well, it looks cool.
It is very cool.
Right?
And I do not
spinning around.
And I do
you have a
not
knob
do
on the
it
steering
well.
wheel as well, like to spin around with? Yeah.
I was carrying a pallet of glass bottles.
Oh, geez.
And I took a turn too fast in front of my boss then at the time, and that whole pallet just went lopsided. And just a bunch of glass, and everyone just like stopped and just looked. I'm just like, crap. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe forklifting is not for you. And that was the last day I was officially on the forklift. But learned a valuable lesson to always drive carefully.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, the fork truck thing is cool. Like, there's a lot going on, right? You're moving around, and then you're moving the pallet up and down, and there's a serious skill with how fast those guys load trucks, whether it's water or other pallets.
You definitely have to, because we've got, I think, about 7 or 8 forklifts in our plant, and 2 of them are devoted to loading up trailers that back to our loading docks, and they'll pick up 22 pallets at a time, and we've got 8 trucks that come in on a daily basis to get loaded. So we got to be in and out pretty efficient quickly there. And on the other hand, we've got 30 route trucks, give or take, that come in every day. And we have to unload the empty 5 gallons that they picked up from the route, and then reload whatever their route pertains for the next day. And we got to do it quickly because they're lining up, and got to get them out parked so that they're ready to go the next day. So it's definitely, you got to definitely watch where you're going in the plant, because there's a forklift about everywhere you look. Right.
Yeah, like I said, kind of referenced it earlier, that being in there and seeing everything moving around, and it's, you guys are busy, right? You're on a deadline. You've got to look, the trucks come in from the day out, that you've got to load them ready for the morning, and just kind of keep it moving. And I always kind of use Chick-fil-A as like the reference for things moving smoothly and efficiently, right? And that's kind of like the goal, is to get this thing
definitely
smoothly, moving and running, so that next day it just keeps going and going and going.
I'm not gonna lie, we definitely look forward to holiday days during the week or on the weekend.
Gives you a break.
We get to catch our breath.
Yeah, definitely. So you go from dropping glass bottles. Quick side note: do you guys still use glass bottles today?
We do.
Yeah. What size are they?
What size?
Yeah, because that's uncommon, right?
So the industry, the bottled water industry started out in glass originally. Yeah. And there is a company called Mountain Valley that still operates in glass, and we are a licensed distributor for them. So we don't make it in-house. We just we get the load from Mountain Valley, and then we sell it to the customers who want Mountain Valley.
Yeah.
But they have 5-gallon glass bottles, 2.5-gallon They have 1 liters and 3rd liters.
Dude, that's a lot of glass.
A lot of glass. So you can imagine the mess that I made.
I mean, I would have. My dad is in the glass business, but more about windows, doors, shop front, stuff like that. So
They're heavy.
I know the sound.
Yep.
It's not a fun sound to hear, is it?
It's coupled with the sound of fear and just, oh no.
Yeah.
What have I done?
What have I done? Yeah, exactly. And even in a busy warehouse, it stands above. Everyone knows what's happening.
Everyone knows.
Yeah. So from that kind of moment, you get, the fork truck gets taken away from you. Where do you go from there? Do you get back to sweeping the floors?
No. Oh, I went and probably worked some more production lines. I did. It was in college, actually. I did a bit of closing up the warehouse, so that was kind of the next bigger step for me. So I would work with our after hours supervisor, and so I would get there at noon, and I would help him check in trucks. I would take trucks back to the parking lot. And at the end of the day, when all the trucks are in and all the employees have left, I would go around the building, securing everything, making sure everything's turned off. I'd lock it, set the alarm, and go home. It'd be about 7:30. But that was just another responsibility that I hadn't learned. It was it was definitely a fun gig. Missed a lot of thunder tip-offs, though. Missed a lot of dinners, but it was nice having to be able to sleep in, kind of stroll into work around noon.
Yeah, that's not a bad life when you're young.
Being able to play a quick 9 or 8 team before you come in.
Yeah,
that was always nice.
That's like that's a great life. And until like you said, you have date nights to go to, or you have birthdays to go to,
yes,
or Thunder games, or engagements that start at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and you're like,
or especially when
sorry, guys.
My supervisor would take off and it would be just me closing the whole thing down. So that was always a little scary. Just that's a lot. It's a lot,
dude. I hate the dark. So anything like that, like and I'm kind of like the cliche. When I was a kid, like you flick the light off downstairs, you run upstairs as fast as possible.
I did that too. It's okay.
That is me, right? But I can't imagine what it's like in a 10,000 square foot warehouse with just plastic and balls and creaking and just noise and wind and all the other stuff that goes on in the warehouse.
During operating hours, it's very loud. Yeah. There's a lot of mechanical, moving parts. It's normal because we're used to it. If ever like something's not running, it's usually like, okay, like what's broken, and at night like everything's just shut off. It's like, man, this is like too quiet.
Yeah. So you go through from that, and you go through into like, do you get to a point where where you're on a route, you get a truck now, and you've kind of like, because you're in college at this point, right? And I mean, it was that time before we go down I'm sure you do get to a truck, but before we get to that time, what was your aspiration when you're in college? Do you want to go do into the business? Was it like the plan, or was it like, the business is always going to be there, I'm going to try to do my own thing?
That's a great question. I think you hit the nail on the head. The business was always going to be there. It was always going to be an option for me, and I know my family had that pegged for myself. But going into college, or going through college, I should say, I had a lot of friends, and they would have like internships out of state where they do like different things. Like that's like really cool that they get to have these opportunities just for the sake of doing something different, and just to look back on my previous experiences and be proud of like, hey, like I did something different and that was okay. Like I gained a good experience. I wanted that, and so I decided to do something different right out of college. I went into public accounting for about a year. And I got a great education in working with, or as a team, solving accounting problems in different businesses and industries, which was really cool. And I knew that I could take that knowledge and experience that I got from there and apply it to Ozarka whenever I decided to come back home.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it too, because some of the businesses out there, family businesses, it can be kind of a burden sometimes knowing that I always have a job here, but also like you learn so much more by going out and, like you said, working in a different business, because you can bring those skills in, and it's it's not like I think you get probably a little bit more respect from your peers and from the people who eventually might even work for you, because you've been away, not like you've been silver spoon fed. And it sounds like from what you said already, like you started sweeping the floors.
Like there's a lot of guys that knew me when I was sweeping floors and that are still working there today.
Yeah.
They'd see me on the production line and kind of hoop and holler and joke around with me, which is always kind of fun that, we still have that relationship. But, like you said, it's a respect thing, and I want to prioritize their growth as an employee as long as they're with the company.
Yeah.
And I know that if I hold and carry myself a certain way within the company, that leadership goes a long way with them. And that's all I want to do is just set a good example, and you have to do it from the ground up.
Right.
Because if you just kind of go in there with, a very carefree attitude, thinking like you own the place, so you're not going to get the reception you think you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah, because you got to lean on them at certain times, right? And, they're going to lean on you, and you, when it comes to you leaning on them, you need that respect.
It's all teamwork.
Yeah.
I've still got plenty of growth. To do. Yes, I'm in the front office now after being on a truck and having my own route. I, got, the blessing to, officially work at the front office. Mm-hmm. But, those guys have still done, certain jobs for a long period of time, and I've only done snippets of it here and there. I've done everything, but not for as long of a time as others have. And so, like you said, I don't know all the answers. I'll need to go to them to help me with certain endeavors and vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's all teamwork in the end.
Tell me about that truck experience in that first route of you driving, and that's big stage, right? That's given a truck, because those trucks are not small.
They're boats.
Yeah.
And these boats are they're big, they're tall. They go 55 miles an hour downhill with the wind, with the pedal to the metal. It's a big billboard, is what it is on wheels, and you got to keep that in mind, because you're a representative of the company, driving this huge truck. Like, just because someone cuts you off, you can't flip them the bird, because then it's like, well, hey, you're a company employee, just flip me the bird.
Do your trucks have call a number on the side that says,
yes, they do.
Tell me how good my driving is? Nobody calls that to say you've been driving well.
No. No, and it's funny. We've got some monitors on trucks that kind of gauge like how fast we're going and where we've been, which is
brake pressure and stuff like that.
Well, and it's helpful because let's say a customer does, or it doesn't have to be a customer, it could be just anyone on the road, and they could say you did something wrong, and they can go back and corroborate that evidence and say, well, you're not in the wrong. We'll just say, we're so sorry this happened to you. Forgive us. It's a big truck. Thank you for your patience and understanding. But my route was fun. I got country route, so I had to go all the way to Luther, Piedmont, and Wynnewood. Yeah. And it's a long drive, those small towns, but when you do it for so long, you know how to get around those small towns like the back of your hand.
Wynnewood's a long way away.
Yeah.
It's like 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
In a normal car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a hike.
Yeah.
But the people out there are really nice, because there's not so many people out there, but they needed me to kind of hit the outskirts because they needed help in that area. Yeah. And you get out there, and it's probably several dozen customers out there, and they all know each other. They all have their same daily routine, and it's a really cool. The small towns are great. They're great communities. And if I say, hey, if you ever need anything, I'd give my number. And actually, a couple weeks ago, I get a call and I don't recognize the number. I'm like, hello. It's like, is this Tanner? It's like, yes. It's like, do you still work for Ozarka? And I'm like, yes. It's like, I don't know if you remember me, but I used to work at the grocery store up here at Luther. I'm like, oh my God, yes, of course. Like, how can I help? We haven't gotten water in a while, and used to be our driver, and we don't know what to do now. I'll handle it.
Take care of it.
I'll take care of it. So the route never stops.
Yeah. That's so cool, though, because you're right. Like, you build a connection, you build a relationship with people, regardless if they're in a small town or a big town. Mm-hmm. And you give them your number, and you never expect them to call you.
No,
but when they do, and you get a phone call like that from years ago, right? And it's just like, yeah, I can help you. Like,
yeah,
that's so cool.
I can help, and that's what we're in the business of. We sell two things: we sell service and we sell water.
Yeah.
In that order, customer service is the bedrock of what this company is about, because we've got several representatives like myself driving these trucks, and we need to be kind, be friendly, create a relationship with customers, because word of mouth is powerful, and that word of mouth can spread to other friends of your customers. Like, hey, my niece needs water. You have can you set her up? It's like, yeah, I've got a cooler on my truck. I can get her set up today.
Right.
It's being just the friendly neighborhood water guy.
Yeah. A lot of people. What fascinates me sometimes is when you meet people and you find out what business they're in, and then you dive into that. And thankfully, fortunately, through this podcast, I've learned so much about so many different businesses and kind of the ways that people have businesses and the things and the services that you never thought would be a thing, right? And water, people will be like, we can get it from a tap, right? But there's certain tastes, and when you dive into it, there's all these things that people like the fact. But I'm sure there's so many people who just like it because of the people that you are, the service you provide, and the relationships that you have.
Yeah, it's a convenience. We are offering the ability to where you don't have to worry about going to the grocery store after work. You've had a long day. We're there to drop off water to your house, so when you come home, you had a tip like, oh, nice, my water's right there. I don't have to do anything. It's stuff like that is really self-gratifying to us, because we'll get emails every once in a while saying, hey, like, thanks so much, like, I really appreciate it, your guy was super nice today. Whoever your supervisor is, I hope he sees these kudos, because he deserves it. That goes a long way. And people just really like being friendly towards other people, and that's what makes the world go around. And we aim to be a full water service provider. And if, like you say, some people like to drink out the tap, and that's fine. We're not forcing you to drink our water. We're just offering an alternative. And if you don't want to drink tap, hey, we hope you use our product. That's all it is. And we believe, and I prefer drinking my water out of instead of the sink. But it's not for everyone, and that's okay.
Everybody's tastes are different, right? You got most of Oklahoma likes Dr. Pepper. I don't mind it, but I prefer Coke.
Dr. Pepper is amazing with Mexican food.
I know.
So good.
I know. But my father-in-law, you can inject it into his veins, so you can probably draw it from his veins. Like, he loves Dr. Pepper. Talking of the product, though, let's dive into kind of the source and where it all comes from and how that all starts. Like, because, obviously you got the well at the facility in Oklahoma City, but kind of what is, I guess the origin story of, going back to the family where, thinking, we have this water source, let's sell water, and then we can go into the product.
So in 1971, my grandfather purchased Ozarka Water Company.
Okay.
And the parent company at the time is Arrowhead Waters. And we were paying a royalty rate to Arrowhead Waters to use Ozarka Spring Water name. With that also comes their quality control team. And this quality control team would visit our plant periodically to make sure that we were doing the spring water treatment processes by the book. Because spring water, it's a special type of water because it comes from a spring water source as opposed to our Ozarka Drinking Water, which comes from a 600-foot artesian well. It's definitely you can definitely taste the difference, and spring water has higher alkalinity than drinking water. So they want to make sure, hey, if you're gonna use our name, we want
make sure it's the right product and you're doing well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, in 1974, Arrowhead contacted our company and said, hey, the spring is closing and we're getting out. That also means that our quality control team is moving to Florida, so you guys are on your own.
It's not the coal that you want
from
your water provider.
So they said, look, we can renegotiate our royalty rate.
Sure.
for like a lesser deal if you guys still want to be in the business. And we countered and said, well, how about we pay you a one-time fee and we buy the name Ozarka and use it into perpetuity. So they agreed. And in 1975, we have the name and we're using it in perpetuity. Although technically we were bottling Ozarka Drinking Water since 1972.
Sure.
After the spring closed, there were only two types of water. It was Ozarka Drinking Water and purified water. And that was the case until 1983 when Arrowhead contacted us again and said, hey, just kidding, we're actually getting back in spring water. So they're relaunching their spring water, and we're just like, you're the one that told us to get out of it in the first place. Like, this is silly.
Right.
And like, sorry, like the market's calling for it, we're going to get back in it. It's like, okay, well, we're going to do the same. So in 1983, we find a different spring source, and it's the one that we're still using today. And from 1983 to 2012, we were bottling simultaneously Ozarka Drinking Water and Ozarka Spring Water. I know the bottle's kind of mushy. It's an older bottle, but that's the label that we used to have for Ozarka Spring Water. Up until 2012, we lost a litigation battle with Nestle Waters when the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals overturned a unanimous jury verdict that no longer allowed us to use the Ozarka Spring Water name. We weren't down and out for too long. We still had our source. And since our DBA is Ozarka Water, our holding company is still Eureka Water. So we use Eureka Spring Water, which is what this product is today.
Okay. Is that kind of like the bottle's obviously a lot different and the brand's different. That looks more of like a luxury type bottle?
Yes.
Right? Kind of like a business.
It's premium spring water.
Okay.
That's, this is economy.
Every day.
Economy is good stuff, which is still good. And then
just see it just in the packaging, you can tell, right? It's a difference.
And, spring water, it's more of a niche target for customers and higher alkalinity, and it comes from a different source. It comes from a spring source.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of friends who said, hey, like, I love your water. I get it all the time. And some of these are out-of-state friends. So, I see Ozarka, like, at the grocery store today in Houston. And it's this stuff right here. This is the Nestle Ozarka. So this is their Ozarka spring water. And it's like, hey, like, instead of going into this giant spiel that I just told you now, it's just more of,
appreciate that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's,
thumbs up. Yeah.
It's not quite our product, but it's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of people who say, what's the difference? And that long spiel is the difference, but no one has the time to listen to that litigation history lesson. But it's still, but for those who do, it's very unique. It's very cool. A lot of people didn't realize that was going on or that was the case.
Right.
So that's inherently the difference in why there's two different types of Ozarka out there.
Yeah. The one with the stars, the Texas one, you don't want that stuff.
No, we are no. This is a made in Oklahoma product. We're proud of it.
Yeah.
And I know you kind of touched on it earlier, and we can delve into it right now, but I feel like it's a good segue.
Yeah, because you have the Mayo logo on your vans,
MIO.
on your trucks.
We're part of the Made in Oklahoma Coalition, and it's a really fantastic coalition to be a part of. If you don't know about it, I highly encourage listeners to certainly go check it out and use Oklahoma Made in Oklahoma products, because all that money you spend on those products just goes back into our state, as opposed to buying something that goes and benefits another state.
Yeah, and Nestle's not exactly a small company.
No,
right? Like,
God,
they won't be hurting if you go and buy
multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, I'm glad you cleared that up, because a lot of people, a lot of people think the same thing, right? I think, it's Ozarka, it's all the same thing. Well, when you look at it closely, it's two completely different companies, two completely different logos, two totally different, like, full names are different, right? And taste and all the other stuff that goes into it, right?
Exactly.
One of the things I noticed kind of from when I did the tour with you is that you guys obviously, we're kind of touching on it a little bit, but you do a lot of different products, but also, like, the process in that comes out of the water that comes out of the artesian well that's at the facility. It's quite a cool process, like if you're interested in that thing, to kind of understand it and how the water goes through all its phases, and then before it gets to the bottle and before it gets to you, like it's fascinating, and I'm sure like it like the back of your hand now.
Yeah, I mean, I think any engineering buff would be very would nerd out at the process. It's like seeing one of those episodes of How It's Made on National Geographic. But it starts from the well, and we had drilled the well in the early 70s, and then we built that new facility around it. The well just wasn't there. We had to drill into it, and it's a private source water into the Garber Wellington, and so we pulled that water out of the Garber Wellington aquifer, and it then goes into our distillers. And so those distillation units, they superheat the water, and it vaporizes the water to where water that doesn't have any impurities in it will be siphoned off into another holding tank. Yeah. And then the water that has impurities in it still will just kind of be flushed and run back through the municipal system. After we have collected the purified, distilled water, we run it through 1 micron filtrations, which is a fancy word of saying really, really small filters that get out any other nitty-gritty stuff that the distillation units may have missed. After the multi-barrier filtration process, it'll hit ozonation, which helps clean the water further. It'll get hit with UV, ultraviolet rays, to also help further clean it, and then we add minerals back to taste for drinking water.
Gotcha.
We wouldn't add minerals back to distilled water because distilled water is free of any impurities.
Yeah.
And then once we add minerals back, we finally collect it in one of those really tall holding tanks, and they can hold about 60,000 gallons, which is quite
so much water.
It's a ton. Yeah. And then we'll darn near go through half of that holding tank just in a couple of weeks.
That's crazy.
We run a lot of water, and when they're in those holding tanks, they're ready to go.
Yeah. Just for people listening, for context, that don't understand how much 60,000 gallons of water is, what would you say the average household swimming pool holds?
Oh gosh.
Just your average pool, how much water is that? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's probably less than 60,000 gallons, surely. I would assume so. Anyway, that's just me thinking of like how can I put that into context for people? It's a lot of freaking water. I've seen these tanks; they're massive.
I know 1,500 gallons is just like a kiddie pool.
Wow.
Just something.
Yeah.
Probably about 6 feet in diameter. Maybe it's like 1,500 gallons, and
ones you can buy in Walmart.
Yeah, exactly.
God, it's crazy.
And that's if you fill it all the way up.
Yeah, of course. That's nuts, though, isn't it? Just to put it into context. That go into kind of like the amount of the product line that you have, because a lot of people might think that I can only buy Ozarka Drinking Water either in a small bottle in the gas station, or I can get the 5-gallon buckets that I see in my office, right? Obviously, there's a lot more to it, and I think just for education, for people listening, they need to know that you can. It's not you don't have to. You can buy different ones as well.
Full water service provider. That's the goal, and every person is going to have different likes and dislikes, and we want to cater to as many customer bases as we possibly can. So we have, like you said, the 5-gallon bottles that go on water dispensers. We have a line dedicated for that. That same line also uses 3 gallons. We also have a 1-gallon and 2.5-gallon production line. And then lastly, we have a half-liter production line that does 16.9 ounce bottles and 12 ounce bottles all the way up to a liter, and as small as 8 ounce. So a really wide range of products that we offer to anyone who wants a catalog to look at what we got.
And I was kind of surprised you guys. I mean, I didn't think of this, and this is probably just because I'm was just generally surprised and unaware, but you guys don't just do businesses, you do home deliveries too.
Yes, home and office.
Yeah.
We have about 30 routes, and we cover the greater 66 counties of Oklahoma City, not including the kind of that northeast corner where Tulsa is. We don't go that far. And really, we don't go. We don't get in a truck and go all the way to like Ardmore or go to Guyman. We've got distributors that will help us, but just kind of the greater metro area, and Wynnewood would be an exception. Why I don't know, but
when you
works.
said that, I was like, really?
So we go as far south as Wynnewood, as far north as Stillwater, as far west as El Reno, and then as far east as Holdenville. And if you don't know what that is, it's close to Shawnee.
It's a long way away.
Long way, but
fairly good. Boone Pickens.
Yes, a fairly good delivery area.
Yeah.
But it's not limited just to buildings or companies rather. We go to any residential home that wants service.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So.
Yeah, that's really cool to offer that whole service and not just be like, oh, we're purely businesses only, because they're the bigger accounts and they're it's nice to, like I said, full service water provider and I mean it's kind of like, I'm thinking of the milkman, right? The milkman goes to every as many houses as he can, and it's really cool to. And when we did the tour, I saw the map, and I was like, wow. I mean, maps fascinate me because you never see maps ever again. But just that map on the wall in the office, just like, wow, this is the place that we cover, and it's cool to see. But obviously, the goal is to grow and take over some more space and serve more people, and just kind of get more of your product into the hands of more Oklahomans.
Yeah, that's the name of the game, and that's why it's imperative that our route salesmen go out there and it's service with a smile, because you never know who might be looking for water, and it's just kind of slowly building relationships, and just kind of being able to get a gauge on hey, is this someone that I can speak with about encouraging them to get service. It's about just kind of planting a seed. The worst thing they can do is say no, and that's fine. It's not for everyone, but hey, we can always be persistent and say, all right, well, that's okay. I'll try again in 2 weeks and see if I can't get you to take have your niece or your friend get set up. It's just you never know, and it's always. Sometimes people get a little gun shy when it comes to sales. It's just having a conversation. And the worst possible thing is just they can say no, and that's it, and that's okay.
And it's it's the training that goes into it, and I'm sure when you started driving around, the last thing you want to do is ask people for their business, right? It's not a comfortable thing to do, but you just get better at it, and you be yourself, and eventually they're going to keep. The good thing is you're on the route, right? They're going to keep seeing you for the most part.
Yeah, and you don't even have to go in there guns blazing. So it's like, hey, do you know anyone else who can take it? It's like, hey, do you enjoy our services? Do you enjoy it? Do you have it set up at home? Just find different ways to introduce that into conversation. It's as easy as that.
Yeah. Are there some days when you're in the office doing the accounting, you think, I'd just love to be in a truck driving through the country right now?
Kinda.
Depending on how hot it is outside.
Yeah. Those drives they're long, but they're pretty. And I've got a couple of different employees I've got to manage. I've got my own workload that I got to take care of. I've got my uncle or my CFO who want to give me several projects, and heck, if I'm on a route, I don't have to worry about any of that. I'm my own boss. I was like, I'll just listen to the radio or sports and just be in my own little world and sell water and try to make new relationships. And so there are definitely those days where being on a truck would be easier as opposed to being a boss. There are definitely those days, but you got to take the good with the bad. Some days I'm going down a 3-hour wormhole on YouTube, so I'm so bored. And there are other days when I'm on a route.
Yeah.
And this true story, this happened. I'm in Luther. I'm 2 stops away from finishing, and I'm going down a dirt road. It's so bumpy. My truck dies, and I can't get a tow truck to come get me for 2 hours. I'm just sitting there, just like, what can you do? Like,
Right,
truck's dead. You can't do anything. And I had two customers left. Like, I was so close to being done. And so I called him. I was like, well, I called my uncle. I was like, hey, I'm stuck here. It's like, well, have you finished all your customers? Like, well, no, I got 2 left. It's like, did you call them? Well, I didn't think about that.
Should probably do that.
And so I called them, and I said, hey, like, I'm so sorry. My truck broke down. I can't do anything about it. I know this sounds kind of weird, but like, if you come to me, I can complete the sale for you. And one of them's like, yeah, okay, I'll take you up on it. I'm like, okay. And so I'm, out in this country road, and I throw up the bay doors, and I do the transaction right there, put him in his trunk, and he's like, well, thanks for taking care of me today. Appreciate it. He's like, yeah, thanks for coming all this way to.
Thanks for meeting me up.
Yeah, thanks for meeting me halfway.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and so the tow truck finally got there, and I don't remember all the technical wirings about it, but there was a battery cable that came off, and all you do is just kind of snug it back in, and then the truck would start. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's all we had to do? And like, I didn't.
Dude, me and you are exactly the same.
I had no idea.
I have no mechanical skill whatsoever.
I thought the worst about, man, like something happened, like inside the engine, like something's ruined. I broke something. It's gonna be my fault. It's like, no, these country roads are hard on trucks. The wire just popped out. All you have to do is just snag it back in. It's like, man, he's gonna be so pissed when he realizes the tow bill just to plug in a cord or a wire.
But it won't happen again.
That's and it won't happen again. And that was the last time I was on a truck too.
Well, so back to, I mean, you the breaking of the glass on this truck incident. It sounds like you come to a time where you're like, okay, now we need to move you on. Now we need to move you on again.
Let's get you to where you're not operating any vehicles. They start calling me Crash.
Simple times though, right? There's sometimes you're in the office and you're just like, simple times. It'd be great to go back to just driving around in a truck, and it's a certain peace about it, right?
It's a certain peace. It's also the relationships and friends you have made through your customers, because they genuinely care about you, and vice versa. I've gotten tips on my route from people saying, hey, like, thank you so much for taking care of me. It's like, you didn't have to do this. Give me a tip, like, that's so nice. Like, I really appreciate it. And just asking them about, you get to know them. You get to know little intimate details of their life. And then, one day, unfortunately, you're pulled off on the route to serve bigger and better things with the company. But that lady still has my number, and if she wants to call me, she still can.
Yeah, no, I mean, just listening, I love the fact that you've literally gone through every single job to get to where you are now. Like, you resonate with everybody on the line. You know everybody. When we did the walkthrough, sometimes when you walk through a business with someone who's in a position of authority or a part of the family, you can definitely tell if they have a really good relationship with people working, because sometimes nobody says a word to you, right? Or you get what I saw with you is people giving you a fist bump, good to see you, asking you how's family and all this stuff. And like, it's cool to see, right? And I'm sure, it's great for you to sometimes just go into the warehouse just to say hello to the guys. Because you might not have seen them for 2 or 3 days because they're busy, you're busy, but just to go chop it up and get out of the office sometimes feels great.
Well, they got a lot of me because I had to go work this past weekend on.
You did?
I did. I had to go. I got called in Saturday and Sunday to help on the production line while the marathon was going, and if you didn't get to the plant early enough to start, I can't tell you.
You didn't get to the plant.
Well, that or all the parking spots were gone.
Yeah.
Because everyone, I didn't think about it, and everyone just swarms that area because it's right by the boulevard,
and
the
new finish line is right. Yeah.
It's like 100 feet away,
yeah.
And there's just so many people bustling about, and it's like, what are these guys doing open on Sundays? Like, hey, we got to work.
We got work to do.
We got work to do.
Yeah. No, thinking of that, I much would have preferred being on a production line than finishing the marathon, because I was miserable when I
Did
finished.
you do it?
Oh, yeah, and it was...
The half or the full?
I did the full, and I'm still feeling the pain.
Good for you.
Like, it was brutal. So I never understood this before, but when you get halfway, or you get to like mile 14 and 15, and you're as far away as you can possibly be, the Devon Tower looks so small.
Oh, no.
And you're at like mile 14, 15, and you're just like, you really question why you're doing this.
It's like, so is my Uber app working
Yeah,
today?
you're like, exactly. But I somehow managed to finish.
Good for
a
you.
lot of old people in front of me who were definitely better running than I am finished in front of me, and that was kind of like a bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a humbling, I think. But yeah, it was fun. But it was good to see, because you come around that last corner right in front of the plant, right in front of the facility.
Yeah.
So, no
Can't
doubt.
miss it.
No, there was people everywhere, thankfully, cheering me on. There were still people there when I finished, so that was a plus. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. And for you, it's cool to be, just regardless of a business perspective, but it's cool to be a part of the business community as well, and be close to downtown where you are, and have that, because for a long time, without that new road going in, you're just kind of part of, you're a little bit away from the city. Now it's kind of coming to you, isn't it? So that's kind of cool to see business development in that area as well.
The old I-40 used to go almost directly over our plant. And so we were it was kind of like a wall, if you will. Like, we were, like, anything north of I-40 is where it was at. Everything south was kind of forgotten. To me, that's what it felt like. And then, I-40 got taken down, and the new boulevard came in, and it really just opened up everything. And I'm only 29, but I feel like I've grown up with this city as it has also grown up as well.
Yeah.
And it's very cool to see how far the city has come. It's beautiful, and it's a happening place. I know the neighborhood around where our plant is. I know it's got big plans for the future. With maps and other development, and it's going to be really special and really cool whenever that's all said and done. I don't think it'll be for a couple of years, but it'll be really cool just to be in a happening place again. Because, like you said, there's a brewery right across the street from us. Actually, there's three breweries.
Yeah, within walking distance.
Within 100 feet of us, which is...
Because Angry Scott's just north of you, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure is. And, then, social capitals.
That's right, yeah.
Another 200 feet away, the new parks over there, the convention center, and, we've got a great view to it. And it's just, it's so cool, like, being in that parking lot. It's like, wow, like, we've got a great view of the skyline just like right here.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that, when the old I-40 was up. It's just kind of, it's very cool to see. It's cool to be in the heart of, be in the heart of downtown again.
Yeah.
Not that we weren't ever, but it's almost like a breath of fresh air with the new development that's going on.
Right.
And I'm so excited for the future.
Yeah, because with the new road coming in, you're getting a lot more eyeballs on you that probably never would have driven past you in coming down Boulevard. Like, you never came into the city that way before, right? You'd always kind of go off Sheridan, come in from the other side.
Yeah, and it was elevated, so like you couldn't see down below, you just couldn't see the roof. Now you can, like, it's like one of the first things you see when you get on the boulevard. Yeah. Or one of the last, depending on which route you take.
Right. No, it's awesome. Well, mate, I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming down. Thanks for sharing the story. It's I look forward to the 50th year celebration. I know it's a little late, but COVID has done that to a lot of businesses. So looking forward to seeing how you guys celebrate that. It's great to see the trucks all over the city. And now I know a lot more about it, so it's great to have more context. And looking forward to playing golf soon. We need to tee it up.
Yes.
Now that the golf courses are back, they're getting green, the grass is turning, the sun's coming out. Hopefully the wind stops soon, because playing golf in this is terrible.
Let me fix my slice first,
and
then you got a deal.
Oh, it's so bad at the moment. But for people listening, I'll put the links to the Ozarka website and all the products. You can go check them out, and also put the links to MIO as well, so you can check out there and all the Made in Oklahoma businesses, because they're great, and you should definitely go support those. We've done podcasts with them in the past, and it's been great to share their stories of all Oklahoma made products and people who've started their entrepreneur journey, even if it's just selling candles or a small business. It's really cool to see. So Tanner, mate, thanks you so much for coming down, share some stories.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for having me on. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
You can see why I love doing what I do. It's a blast. So for people listening, I'll put the links in the description, and we will catch you next episode. Cheers.
Cheers.
This podcast is presented by the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, telling Oklahoma stories through its people since 1927. Follow them online at oklahomahof.com and definitely on Instagram at oklahomahof.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.